Welcome back to Learn HTML on Codecademy. This is part 2. We're continuing off. This is the next section, Common Elements, Lesson 1, Visible Content. And it says, all content added to HTML web pages should be between opening and closing tags, such as the body tag. A tag and the content between it is called an HTML element. There are many tags that we can use to organize and display text and other types of elements. In this lesson, you will build an informational website using some of the most common HTML elements that add content to web pages. Let's get started. Instructions. Take a look at the code in index.html. What new code do you see? Explore the code in this file and try modifying something at random. What happened? So let's look at this. So new code in here would be stuff like this: nav bar, anchor element, brown bear, which is here. Anchor element is a link. We have the brown bear, which is our heading 1, which is here, which is what you're seeing here. We have an unordered list with list items that are anchor tags. If I zoom out, might make it a little better. So we have this unordered list with these list items that we could see here: introduction, habitat, media. We have a div element. Inside of the div element, we have an h2 that says about brown bears, which is there. We also have inside of that div this paragraph. So all of this stuff here seems to be, let's see where the div ends. We're going to learn all this stuff in the following lessons, but there is a lot of information here. If we mess with, like where it says media, we could change media to say pics and vids, and it should, instead of saying media, it'll say pics and vids. Our list items here, we could create another list item, put a rack mid or something made. So anyways, let us run this. As you guys can see, we have this fifth thingy here that was added. Media now says pics and vids. So we're going to learn more about different tags and how we could implement them. Let's continue. So headings. Headings in HTML can be likened to headings in other types of media. For example, in newspapers, large headings are typically used to capture a reader's attention. Other times, headings are used to describe content, like the title of a movie or an educational article. HTML follows a similar pattern. In HTML, there are 6 different headings or heading elements. Headings can be used for a variety of purposes, like titling sections, articles, or other forms of content. The following is the list of heading elements available in HTML. They are ordered from largest to smallest in size. So we have our heading 1 all the way to heading 6. Heading 1 being the most important, used for main headings. All other smaller headings are used for subheadings. All these would be our subheadings. The following example code uses a headline intended to capture a reader's attention. It uses the largest heading available, the main heading element. H1, breaking news. Below you'll add the headings you saw in exercise 1. This is how we'll begin to recreate the website we previewed in the opening exercise. So first, in index.html, add an H1 heading under the opening body tag. The heading should say the brown bear. Opening body tag, we want to go in there. We want to nest it inside our body. So we will create our H1 that says the brown bear, close H1. So that's the first part. Let us run this. So we have our main heading here now. Second, it says below the brown bear, add an H2 that says about brown bears. We go under our H1, do our H2 about brown bears. Close H2. So I do not have to double space here since it is not nested inside of here. So they stay on the same line. Let us run this. Now third, says below the H2, add an H3 that says species. Under H2, do an H3 that says species. Close it. Same. Let us run it. So you guys can see main heading. Heading 2 is a little smaller. Heading 3, a little bit smaller. Below species, add another H3 that says features. So under H3, do another H3 that says features. Close H3, go out, run it. We have 2. Below the H3 that says features, add an H2 that says habitat. We go back here and do an H2 that says habitat. And we close our H2, we run it. So now we have habitat. Below habitat, add an H3 that says countries with large brown bear populations. Below habitat, I'm going to do an H3, copy this, paste it, close H3. So let us now run it. So now we have that. Add one more H3 that says, so I'm thinking they want it under here. So one more H3 says countries with small brown bear population. We paste, close H3, and run. Finally, add an H2 that says media. So I'm guessing here we add another H2 that says media. We close our H2, run, and we have those main headings. We can now click next. Text content tags. Headings are meant to emphasize or enlarge only a few words. If you want to add blocks of text in HTML, you can use a paragraph, div, or span. Paragraphs simply contain a block of plain text. Divs can contain any text or other HTML elements. They're primarily used to divide HTML documents into sections. Spans contain short pieces of text or other HTML. They're primarily used to wrap small pieces of content that are on the same line as other content and do not break text into different sections. Take a look at each of these elements in action below. So we have a div here, which contains a paragraph that says technology. Here we have a paragraph, which uses a span to include self-driving cars within the same paragraph. So again, the difference between these is you could place a span inside of an element to wrap around text that you want to do something to within a paragraph. So in the example above, there are 2 different divs that each contain p elements. The second div contains a paragraph with span self-driving cars span. This span element separates self-driving cars from the rest of the text in the paragraph. As we noted above, the divs divided blocks of code while the span divides inline text, or text that is on the same line as other text. Below, we're going to add several divs with IDs to organize our text into sections. Later, we will use this structure to create links that allow user to quickly navigate the content of our page. Note, we will explain the purpose of the IDs that you will see in a later exercise. An ID only needs to be in the opening tag of an element. So 1. Below the H1 element that says the brown bear, add this opening div tag. So under the H1 that says brown bear, we're adding a div with an ID equal, let's leave it with no spaces, ID equals introduction. So we're adding the closing to this div here. So everything within it should be indented. Always add 2 spaces of indentation when you nest elements inside of divs. So we did that. Let us run this. So we passed that first part. Below the H2 element that says about brown bears, add a paragraph that is indented the same amount of space as the other content inside of this div. The paragraph should contain the following text. So below the H2 element that says about brown bears, here, add a paragraph and we want it to say this. Run that. So below the H3 element that says features, add a paragraph with the following text. So we go here, we go under it, indent, paragraph, and then end paragraph. We want to go in there, copy this, paste it, run this. So we have that. Above the H2 element that says habitat. So above the H2 that says habitat, add a div. So above the H2, we're adding a div with ID equal to habitat. Close that. Close the div below the H3 element that says countries with a small brown bear population. That's here. So we're going below that, closing our div. Then we want to indent this stuff. Let's run that. Okay. 5. Under the H3 element that says countries with a small brown bear populations. So that would be here. So under it, add a paragraph. So we're doing a paragraph. And we're going to add this text. Add that there. Run this. Seems I put this in the wrong place. It should actually be under here. So let's try it again. So next, text style tags. Tags provided by HTML exist to organize and describe the content of web pages. 2 of these HTML tags are M and strong. They are used to signal that the text within them should be emphasized or strong. Later, when you begin to style websites, you will decide how you want browsers to display content within emphasis and strong tags. However, browsers have built-in style sheets that will generally style these tags in this manner. The emphasis tag will generally render as italic emphasis. The strong will generally render as bold emphasis. Take a look at each emphasis in action. Here's a paragraph. The Nile River is inside of strong tags, and then it says is the, and then longest has emphasis. River in the world, measuring over 6,850 kilometers long, approximately 4,260 miles. End of paragraph. In this example, the strong and emphasis tags are used to emphasize the text to produce the following. We have Nile River bolded. Then we have longest, which is given emphasis. Notice the Nile River is bolded and longest is in italics. Now it's your turn to get some practice. So emphasize Ursus Arctos. So we go here and we just add our emphasis and close it. Let us check. So they do not want us to include the parentheses. So we can put that out here. Now run this. So that's that one. As you guys can see, it is emphasized. 2. In the paragraph under about brown bears, make the words least concern strong using the strong tag. That one's easy. About brown bears is here. About brown bears, least concern, strong tags, strong tag. Close it. Run this. Got it. If we look at least concern is now bolded. So let's go one more. Line breaks. The spacing between code in an HTML file doesn't affect the positioning of elements in the browser. If you're interested in modifying the spacing in the browser, you can use HTML's line break element. So this is a line break element, which will just insert a new line. The line break element is a self-closing tag. You can use it anywhere within your HTML code, and a line break will be shown in the browser. So here we have a paragraph, and then there's a line break. As you guys can see here, after river, there's a line break, and it goes to the next line. You may see line breaks written as with this / or without it. Both are valid break tags. Note, line breaks are not the standard way of manipulating the position of HTML elements, but it's likely you'll come across them every now and then. So in index HTML, add 2 line breaks. after the sentence that ends with least concern. Where is least concern? It is here. So add a line break after the sentence that ends. So we want it here, and we'll simply do a BR close. And let's see what happens. Oh, we need two of them. We could, where did I do it? Just to make it look cleaner, we'll do this and that. We'll run it. Now we got two lines. As you guys can see here, it looks a little nicer. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. I'll see you guys on the next video. This is part 2 of Learn HTML. See you guys on the next one.